that it's sitting, we can see that it's sitting right here, correct? You guys can all see that? Now, what happens in the next session? The next session we gap down, and what do? We test that point of control. We get rejected off that point of control. We retest it again and we fail again off that point of control, okay? So I pay very close attention to what's happening with the prior point of control. And the other thing that you notice right here, you have some more interaction with the prior point of control. Here, you have more interaction with the prior point of control. This is what I'm paying attention to. That was the prior session. That is already defined. It's finished. It's closed. We see it. We know that that was the most popular price of the prior session. So when price starts interacting with it, I want to know what's happening there. That being said, it's going to act as a magnet. And you see how we get a lot of retests back to this point of control. These are great fading opportunities. They don't make the best entries because as it being the most popular price, it can take a while for the trade to hang out there before it actually makes up its mind and decides where it wants to go. But there's still trades that can be taken off of the point of control and trades taken to the point of control for the prior day. The other thing I want to point out here is this. So we already established that the most popular price is the point of control. So on this particular day right here, we had the most popular price sitting roughly at about 170, okay? In the very next session, we have the most popular price happening around 160. Can anyone suggest to me or give me an idea of what that might mean from a sentiment point of view? Anyone?
There you go. Now they're
Yeah,
coming in.
yeah, not necessarily bearish, not necessarily. What does it mean from a volume perspective, and not necessarily people trapped? It's overpriced at 170. Yeah, exactly. So what that means is that when we moved into the next session and we found an even more popular price at a lower price, we're getting price acceptance at lower levels. That is extremely, extremely important to recognize because I'll tell you what, price will move down for two reasons. Price will move down because you have an increased number of sellers. You have massive amounts of selling. You have a lot of aggressive sellers. The other reason that price will move down is due to a lack of buyers. So it's very possible that this particular day, right here, this very particular day, it's very possible that this point of control could have been up here instead. And what that tells me is the move down is due to a lack of buyers, not due to selling strength. The fact that the point of control shifted down the next session tells me that we have an increased number of sellers jumping on board at each consecutive level, okay? The next session, what happens? Again, our point of control shifts down, which means we even have more sellers that are getting on board at that level. And again, shift down, shift down. Now, what happens here? What is that telling you? You guys, this is good stuff for you. So can anyone suggest or tell me what that means right there? Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean reversal, but what it does mean is that we have definitely slowed down in the move lower, right? Because in order for us to have this most popular price shift up, we had to go up to find the sellers. The buyers were definitely at this level. They were able to take it up. The sellers were overtaken at this level. So that is a level that is important to recognize. Okay, wow, this is an opportunity for me to start looking at potentially swings, all sorts of different items like that, right? So if we take a look at, here's a hammer, right? Here's a hammer, okay? If someone took and decided, well, there's a hammer, I'm going to play that hammer. Does it make sense to play this hammer right now? Anyone? when you're getting price acceptance at lower levels. Exactly. Does it make sense to play this hammer? No, it doesn't. So once you start getting this shift up in the point of control, you can start to say that the momentum down has started to slow down. And now, from a swing trading perspective, you can start looking for opportunities to start going bullish. Now, how does this play out in day trading? Well, if Dan had gone into his settings, can you open up your settings on your swing or on your volume profile, please?
I believe so. Let's see, volume.
Yeah, right in
No,
here.
It's not that one. I think it's.
Yep, it's this guy here.
Why do they keep changing the name for me? Here we go.
They updated it all.
Settings. There we go. That should be it.
Okay, now go into inputs. Sorry, go to style, I should say. Style. And then what I want you to do is go down to developing POC and then change that to orange. Select it and change it to orange. Yep. So we can see it. And then make it super thick. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So now if we minimize, yeah, okay, there you go. So now on a day trading, so this perspective here, right there, let's look at this candle, or this day, I should say, this session. So this is an entire session. What are you seeing with the developing point of control? Now, the developing point of control is the point where the point of control was. So this is developing throughout the day. It's going to start somewhere, wherever the session opens. And as the day progresses, as volume goes into the session, as people are transacting, that point of control is going to be developing. So we've already established that if we have a point of control that is shifting down, we are getting buyer acceptance, or sorry, selling acceptance at lower levels. We're getting more and more sellers on board. What do you think is going to happen if the point of control is shifting up consecutively?
I think there's one thing to clarify as well when you get a chance for Brosi.
Yep.
Because we were talking about the hammers on the POCs or playing hammers.
Yep.
I think it was more so in a downtrend. So it's not don't ever play hammers from using POC. But I believe, correct me if you're wrong, but it's just the fact that those hammers wouldn't hold as well because we're still downtrending.
That's correct. So the point that I was trying to make is that as the point of control is shifting down, we know that there's a downward momentum. So it makes no sense from a timing perspective to start looking for bullish trades until you get a shift up in that point of control. The shift up in the point of control is telling me that the momentum down has slowed, and now you can start looking for opportunities to go long. Just like if the point of control is shifting up, 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 what does that say? So if you have a point of control that's going up, 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 what does that say to everybody? As Tony puts it, stair stepping upwards. Yeah, exactly. Don't short. There's no point in shorting because the point of control is getting acceptance. You're getting more buyers at each consecutive price step. So from a timing perspective, what do you want to wait for? Shift down. You want to wait for a shift down in the point of control. That does not mean that it's going to reverse, but what it does mean is this upward momentum has now slowed. It's lost upward momentum. And who here likes catching a falling knife or getting stabbed in the eye by a running bull or anything like that? I know I don't. Okay. So if you look at this session, and actually if let's go to say a 15-minute chart. All right. So, and then just make it a little bit bigger so I can more clearly define what the point of control is doing here. Let's take a look at this session right here.
Let me go a little higher up.
Okay.
Hold on one second. There we go. Got it.
Let's go up so we can see the bottom of the day too. There we go. Okay. So the point of control started the session out right here And then you can see as the day is progressing, what is it doing? Stair stepping up, right? Who's the first person that can tell me what that means? Including Dan.
Reversal potential.
What, did it stair stepping up?
More so that you're losing some of the bearishness to it.
What this is saying is that at each level, the bulls are overtaking. You're getting more and more bullish action at each price level, right? So is the momentum skewed towards the bulls? The bulls have control, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Do you want to be shorting that?
Only if you don't like money.
Only if you don't like money, right? So here's a double top, right? Boom, boom. Do you really want to try and take that short? This is an inverted hammer. Do you really want to take that short? I know some people did. Probably right here. People shorted thinking, oh, this is up quite a bit. I'm going to short this, but why would you? Right? Why would you? Because the point of control is saying that we're really bullish. Okay. Is this making sense to you guys? Yeah, getting there. Indeed. This is the stuff I love. All right. This is what I do day in and day out. Love the point of control. And this is how I use it. So I don't know. Dan, do you have any questions?
I think if we stop right there, everybody's already learned stuff. So we could go part 2.
Part 2.
But no, but I do think it's important. So like I don't ever keep the developing on.
Yeah.
Just for me, just because I'm watching for me the same stocks anyway. I'm kind of visualizing it, but it does help to have it on in the first place. Because I think a lot of issues that people have when trading is, okay, I missed this run, right? So I missed from 141 all the way to 147. And it's like, well, now I'm just going to look for the reversals, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean like people, I think people struggle like, okay, I'm going to just catch this thing and catch it back the other way. And it's just going to go in a perfect little accordion type shape, like something like this. But if we look at this double top, I mean, there's clear as day, there is a double top, but just by even just being aware of where those VPOCs have been moving throughout the day, maybe you would have missed that trade. Maybe it did reverse there and you caught that double top and you feel like a hero. But just by not being in it, I mean, saving ours is sometimes more valuable than making ours.
Exactly.
So it just always, people say it's hard to go against a trend. I mean, when the VPOC is pretty much drawing out that trend for you and you get an idea of like, okay, you know what, the trend is moving in the bullish direction. How do I know I'm going counter trend? Well, I mean, legitimately, you see where the VPOCs are coming and they're all holding and bouncing. So I think that's valuable.
Absolutely. Now, I have 2 questions. Okay. So the first question is, let's take a look at this double top again. And let's imagine that the point of control stayed down here. Okay. So the point of control didn't move, but price moved up. Now, remember, I've already said that price can move because of 2 reasons. So for moving down, it can move down because you have selling strength or you have no buyers. Moves up, it can move for 2 reasons as well. It can move up because you have buying strength and because you have a lack of sellers. So if the point of control stayed down here and price moves up, what is that? What's the reason behind that? Is it because of sell or buying strength, or is it because of lack of sellers?
I would say it's more lack of sellers.
Exactly. Lack of sellers. And that's a different sentiment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you see this double top with a lack of sellers. You see a double top and this is being pushed up because of a lack of sellers, not because of bullish strength. I'm going to take that double top and I'm going to take it short. And where am I taking it to? Back down to the point of control. But if I've got bullish strength, and I can tell that by the point of control, what it's doing, I can tell that I've got bullish strength. I'm not taking that short. And that's the difference. So the candles themselves would look the same. Price action will look the same, but what the volume's doing is something totally different. And here's the other thing that I want to show you. So you mentioned this move right here. People are saying, oh, I missed that move. I missed that move. Can anyone see a beautiful point to enter on a pullback for that trade? You missed the bullish move going up. Where do you buy? Exactly. And what is that? The prior point of control. Exactly. Okay. Previous point of control. Information's there. That's where your support resistance levels are. Those are your highest volume levels. It's just, I just love this stuff. This is brilliant. Love it, love it, love it. I crack myself up every single time I look at this stuff. It just amazes me. So let's go to a daily chart. And let's go to, say, the Qs.
Daily chart, flip it to the Qs. Q, Q, Q.
Q, 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 Q.
Nice little jingle. That should be my ringtone.
All right, let's go into the volume profile and turn off the developing. Actually, do you want me to just to share my my charts?
Yeah, you want to do a?
Yeah, sure. Let me do it.
I believe you should have access to do it.
You just need to stop sharing.
Uh,
Oh, there we go. Okay, let me do this.
sure, you good, right?
All right, let's go to
Gotcha.
the Qs. Oops. Oops. Everyone can see my screen?
Yep, we're good.
Alrighty. So on my screen, I have daily, weekly, monthly, yearly points of controls or volume profiles. That's what I have on there. And if you guys want to learn how to do that, it's all inside of, we're going to, how long do we have, Dan? Just till,
We have 1 hour and 2 minutes, so we got some time.
oh, good. Okay, cool.
But we do disconnect anybody that does not listen to the Pivot podcast. So make sure you guys are listening. So in 2 minutes, those people will get disconnected from this Zoom. So just fair warning. That's all.
Yeah, fair warning. All right. So first of all, to find the volume profile, you need to go into your indicators right here, indicators, metrics, and strategies. Go down to technicals, and then right along here where it says volume profile, there are a few different types. Now, the newest one, which is the periodic volume profile, that is what you're going to need for swing trades. And what I do is I put 1, 2, 3, 4 of them on my chart. I set one for a monthly. I set one for 12 months, which is a year. I set one for weekly, and I set one for daily. And as you can see with what's on my chart, I have the yearly profile and I set the point of controls as yellow. I set my monthly point of controls as green. I set my weeklies as purple, and I set my dailies as red. And that way I can see the difference. And the only ones that I have the actual profile turned on is the yearly and the monthly. But let me ask you this. The Qs, we have the 2020 point of control and we have the 2021 point of control. Where's the current point of control for 2022? Is it shifted up or shifted down? It's above. Okay. Yeah. So from a yearly perspective, would you say that we're getting buying acceptance at higher levels, selling acceptance at higher levels? What are we doing? Yeah. From a point of control perspective, on the yearly level, we are still bullish. Okay. But on a monthly perspective, if we just look at the monthly levels, what are we doing with the monthly? So that's these green lines right here. Are we bullish or are we bearish? We moving up or are we moving down? Yeah, we're moving down. We're getting lower acceptance. Now, we did have one shift up right here with the point of control. So from the beginning of the year, we shifted down in the first month, then we shifted down in the second month, then we shifted down in the third month. April, we shifted up, but we didn't put in a new high. We didn't beat that prior point of control. We just did this one. And then we immediately, the next month, dropped lower. We are trending down currently with the point of controls on a monthly level, right? So is this the time to be buying off the Qs? My answer is no. I'd be waiting for opportunities. I want to see that shift up in the point of control on a monthly level. Now, we are currently getting this month, which has only been a few days, we are getting a POC that is shifting up from the prior month. So for me, this is everything to do with timing. Okay. As long as I've got the points of control shifting down on a monthly level, I can take shorter term bearish swing trades. But the minute I get that point of control that shifts up, that tells me the bearish momentum has slowed down, and I can start to look for opportunities to go bullish. And then I want to see follow through. If I don't see the follow through, then again, it's just going to continue to go lower. So once I get this point of control for the month, so we'll see what July holds out. Once I get this point of control that shifts up, I can now start diving down into the weekly POCs, and I can start looking at the weekly to see what's happening with the weekly POCs. So if we were to look at this first, see, this one doesn't work because we gapped down, but if we look at the first POC that shifted up this time and then go back and we replay what's happening with the first week, this point of control for the first week of May, after we had a shift up in POC, we're already below the low. So I know that there's no opportunities at this point. Okay. But if we go back to say, let's go back to the 2020 COVID low right here. Let's go back here and let's test this out. All right, so COVID low dropped really, really quickly. Okay. But this point of control, we dropped below 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like tons of prior monthly points of controls, plus the yearly point of control from 2019. So that was a really big drop very, very quickly. Now, lots of candles in here, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that tried to buy hammer, lots of hammers. I mean, you can see a lot of tails, a lot of buying tails where people were trying to buy and they were just getting run over. So from a weekly perspective, you can see that the point of control, these purple ones, are dropping pretty significant as well. Does it make sense to be buying here? Anyone? No, exactly. Okay. So unfortunately in replay mode, the POCs don't develop. I just have to go back into a time frame and then go forward again and it'll play. So now if we look at this particular week right here, we have a shift up in the point of control. Okay. So right there's the first shift up from a weekly perspective that we get a point of control that shifts up. So that's a good sign. Do we want to start looking for an opportunity to buy? Yeah, sure. We can start looking if we want to take the short-term test. We've got the first sign that momentum is slowing. We can start to look at an opportunity. It's worth the risk versus buying while it's still in a power downtrend. Okay. So right here, what we see is this month right here, that's the month of April. Where do we retest? We open up, we retest right off that prior monthly POC. Okay, we had a shift up at the end of the month with the weekly POC. And then this month we open, we test that POC and we hold these levels. We hold them very cleanly. And that week ends up closing with a shift up in the POC. Does this not make sense that this could be an opportunity for you to start timing your trades and your entries and your exits a little bit better by looking at these points of controls and understanding what it means for a shift up or a shift down in a point of control, right? Just understanding sentiment, understanding what volume means, what that point of control, what that popular price shifting up and down means. Make sense? Did you guys all quit and leave?
Their minds are blown. They're just processing, I think.
Are they processing? There you go.
Processing for Canadians.
Yeah, processing for Canadians. I get razzed about that all the time. Let's take a look at another month. Okay, let's just move forward a bit. Okay, so what happens in this month? Okay, and this is exactly what I want to see, right? So first of all, we had a shift up in the weekly. That was kind of the first opportunity to say, hey, maybe we should start looking at getting into some trades. We can start looking now because momentum has slowed down. And then we follow up with a monthly shift up in the point of control, which is even better. So that's the kind of confirmation on the other side of it, right? And that's what I like to see. So can't give you all my secrets right now, but that's the gist of what I do with these points of controls. Dan, any questions?
So here's my question to you, Tracy.
Yes.
All right, let's say we're going bearish on a monthly trajectory, and we are going down. It looks bearish. Now you start getting your weeklies in. The weeklies are starting to flip bullish, just like this scenario.
Mhm.
Do you go counter trend from the weekly, or how much faith do you put in the shorter time frame compared to a longer time frame?
So it's going to depend on where it is in relation to the prior monthly POC. So in this particular case, right, we had a shift up in the weekly, and the very next week, which is a new month, we open up above the monthly POC. So for me, it matters what happens at this level. Okay, if this level right here holds, I'm bullish. If this level fails, then we could be getting an S curve in the weekly POCs, right? Because that happens, even in the POCs, it happens. We get S curves. Let's take a look at something for a minute. I think that's a pretty funky thing. And I do this with my mentor students all the time. I'm going to turn off the candles. And actually, I'll turn off the yearly. We'll just look at the monthly POCs. Can you guys see that the monthly POCs are making higher highs and higher lows? Right? There's a high. Okay, so this is a pretty big trend. You have a shift up, shift up, shift up, shift up, shift up. The monthly continues to shift. There's a little minor shift down and a shift up, shift up, shift up, shift up, shift up. There's the first real shift down. Then we get a shift up, but it doesn't clear this high. And then we get a lower shift. Okay, this is kind of the first sign that momentum's really starting to slow. And then what happens? We go up, 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 and then we reverse. We get a very shallow reduction. We didn't have a good pullback after this big, huge move, right? So we end up with a bigger pullback. Pretty cool. Yeah, exactly, George. I still haven't moved my stop. If I get in down here, because that's the other thing, guys, I mean, this is on a monthly basis, but I use my daily POCs to help me manage my trades, right? So let's just take a peek over here and say that, let's take this off here. And let's say that I got into a trade right over here. I'm going to turn off the monthly for a second, and I'll turn off the weekly, and let's just look at the daily POCs. Let's turn this off as well. So let's say that I get into a trade right here, and notice there's no candles on the chart, okay? But let's say that I get into a trade somewhere over here, all right? And I'm long, and guess what? The next candle, we have an increase in POC. Love it. Love that we have an increase in POC. And then here comes a lower POC right here, okay? Not a big deal. I expect pullbacks. Did it break the low of the candle? No. Did it break this low? No, it did not. So I'm not too concerned about it. But if I get two in a row, so if I get 1, 2 in a row, that's when I'm going to move my stop up. But in the meantime, my stop just stays, let's just say my stop is right here, okay?
So what you're saying is you're just not afraid to lose an R?
I'm not afraid to lose an R. And this little tiny shift down in the POC is just one shift that suggests to me, okay, well, maybe momentum's not quite there yet, but right, we're still in a consolidation here. We haven't even broken out yet. So let's see what happens when we break out. So now we break out. There's a shift up, shift up, shift up, shift up. There's another shift up. Then we get a shift down. Okay, whoa. Well, maybe momentum is changing. Again, I wait for 2. Okay, so here's my second POC that shifts. That's my inclination to say, hey, I need to do something. Let's move my stop up. All right, we get another shift up. Cool. We have one shift down, then a shift up, shift up, shift up, shift up, shift down, shift up, shift up, shift down, shift down. Oh, there's another shift down with two of them. Guess what I'm doing? Moving my stop. Then we have a up, 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 down, up, 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 down. Okay. And I'm just maintaining and riding this wave all the way through. There's two right here. Okay. So where am I getting out? I'm moving my stop after the second one and boom, I get nailed right here. I get out. Did I make money on this trade?
Just a little bit. Just you
Yeah.
just managed to sneak out a small little win there, Tracy.
Exactly. Okay, I'm watching these points of controls, and as long as I'm getting consecutive buys higher, I am fine. Do I care what these candles look like? I don't. I look what the point of control is. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn the candles back on. And are there any candles that may have scared you at all? Right? When you're watching some of this, some of these candles, and this wasn't a very good example, but sometimes like this candle here very possibly could have been a big bear candle, and a lot of people would end up getting scared and they exit the trade, not realizing that there's more to the story than just what the candle is showing. Okay. Type a 1 in the chat if you guys are getting this, understanding it, liking it. Yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of my guys there taking this class before. There you go. Cool.
Yeah, I think using, for anybody that does not use VPOC, it and kind of like anything, it's confusing in the beginning, like any indicator, any strategy system that you're trading with. Just take the time to consistently look at it, back trade it, do exactly how Tracy just did it. If you have to turn candles off, if that helps. But by knowing the price points as to where you actually have strength, where you have actual interest coming in, even like I said, on a day trade basis, I'll look at the VPOCs every day just to see where the potential targets are, up, down, where my potential risk to reward is on trades. You could apply any strategy. I think, who was it, George, that asked for wave counts before, which I know it means a little bit different for you, and I'll let you answer that one, Tracy. But for me, if I'm getting a pullback, I'm counting the wave count. And then if it's coming into a round where I get to wave 5 and it's right around some kind of previous VPOC, that just gives me an extra little bit of confidence on taking some kind of maybe a reversal trade at that point. Right. Do you use wave counts on just the VPOCs?
I don't use wave counts at all.
There you go.
Yep. Don't use them at all. I focus on volume and I focus on price, and that is it. I don't clutter my brain with other information. I don't have the capacity. So I focus on the things that I understand and the things that make sense to me from a logical perspective. As far as wave counts, for me, I find them too arbitrary, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, and knowing whether I'm in the right wave or not. And I've never found, for me, I don't find that works. So I stick to this. This is what I know. This is what I have studied. This is what I have spent my time in. And there's lots of indicators out there. There's lots of information out there. I just don't need to focus on all of it when this makes sense to me. Right?
On your chart, the little indicators, arrows, what are you doing with this?
Which indicate these here?
Your little arrows on your chart.
Oh, those are just showing me 3 candle hammer patterns. So combination. I did a class on that, yeah. I did a class on adding candles together and what it forms. So for instance, these 3 candles right here, when you take the open and the close of the 3 candles, put them together with the high and the low, this forms a hammer. So if you were to look at a 3-day, if it was using this as the day 1, day 2, day 3, that would be a 3-day hammer. So that's pretty much it. That's what I use for that. Any questions, you guys?
Now, guys, is a good opportunity to ask Tracy any questions you guys have on the VPOCs, on volume, trading in general, life in general. How's Canada?
Oh, Canada is interesting. No, I love Canada. I love the United States. I love Canada. I wish we were more freely able to go back and forth between the places, because as far as I'm concerned, we're kind of just one big country. That's how I feel. So, yeah. Can you show us the settings you did again? Yeah, absolutely. So for the monthly, take a look at the monthly. So when you put on your, let's go here first. So go into your indicator strategies, go to technicals, volume profile, and then choose the periodic volume profile. So that's the PVP. And turn that off. We go back into this, and the period, obviously that's a number, and you can do 1 to 12 or a different number if you're doing days, but you have the choice of choosing bars, which I don't use, days or weeks or months. And I have been waiting for them to do this. I used to have to do this all manually, and they brought this in. So I'm super happy with TradingView for finally getting this done. I've been asking them forever, and it's here. So the day, you can choose the number of days, or you can choose the number of weeks, or you can choose the number of months. So obviously for a 1 month, I just set it to 1 and then month. And then what I do, the other thing, because default is up down. Okay. So notice when I change that to up down, you get these yellow and blue. Now what that's saying is selling volume versus buying volume. And I can tell you right now, it makes absolutely no point, because unless they can tell me whether that's selling to get in or selling to get out, or whether it's buying to get in, buying to get out, it means absolutely nothing to me. I don't know whether people are buying to close, selling to close, buying to open, selling to open. So it's useless. So I just keep that information at total, which is totals the number of volume, because in every single transaction, and I'll say that one more time, every single transaction, there is a buyer and a seller. Can't have two buyers in one transaction. You have to have a buyer and a seller. That's just the way it works. So the same amount of volume exists no matter what. And like I said, unless they can tell me whether people are getting in or getting out of a trade, it makes no difference to me. Next thing is the value area. This is the blue section right here, and that is the area, the 70% of where the 70% of the transactions took place. That's what that is. I just leave it at that. And then rows layout, I changed this to ticks per row instead of number of rows. And it just gives me more detail. And this row size, that just encompasses the number of price points that are going to be included inside of this range. And for higher data or higher price stocks, you're going to need a higher number there, because the data is too big and it just won't calculate enough profiles for you. So when you have a lower valued stock, you can go with a low number, go as low as you can. The lower you go, the more accurate it'll be. The higher, the less accurate. So something like Shopify or Tesla, when they were back up over $1,000, this number may end up having to be in the 50s. Okay. So just play around with it. Another one that you want to pay attention to is this extend POC to the right. Now what that does is, you see that green line just extended. All that's going to do is move the naked point of control. So point of controls that have not been tested are going to be shifted to the right. And that's really important to know as well, because the first test is going to be the strongest test off of a point of control. And I want to know where they are. Other settings that I have, if you go into the style, I move my placement over to the right. You do that right here, right, left, because like I said, I go off of the prior day or the prior month's point of control. I want to see where it is. I want to see what the profile looks like. So I'm going to place that profile on the other side, not on the left side, which is the default. Point of control right here. This is where you can turn it on and off. This is where you can change the color, change the size of the line, change the type of line. And then your developing point of control is right in here as well. And I can change that. So those are pretty much the gist of what's happening in here. Those are the settings that I have. So you guys can play around with that.
For
Yep.
for your trading style, Tracy, if I remember correctly, you don't really use targets as much. You kind of you almost prefer to get stopped out.
Yeah, I do. I
to let things run, if I'm not mistaken. Do you use the volume clusters at all, or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So when, and that's the thing, like I'll adjust my stop when I know where resistance and support levels are. Okay. So if we go into, let's take this off, for instance, and if we take a look at the profile, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, because we've kind of got a support right here, right? You guys can see that there's like a level of support that's right here. Okay. That happens to be, look at that, the value area high for for the 29 or 2020. Okay, we hit that resistance, we broke through it, we tested it again, and now we're testing it again. So if I just look at that area where price is sitting above, and I'm going to put a different type of profile. I'm going to put a visible range profile. Now what this one's going to do is it's going to put a profile on the right-hand side. See this exclamation mark right here? What that exclamation mark is telling me is that my row size is too small, and I can't get the data to create what I want. So I have to actually change this row size right there. Let's just say change it to 10 and see if that works. There we go. And then the profile shows up. So when I look at what's happening right here, I'm looking at where I am currently in this volume cluster. So we have all of the price that's happened above this support level. And right now we're at the bottom of it. So I am paying very close attention to where we are in this particular profile. And right here, we are currently sitting at a discount zone, because what I'm seeing in the Qs anyway is I'm seeing a very normal distribution over the course of all this volume. And what that means to me is that we have a pretty equal number of buyers and sellers willing to transact in this price zone. Fairly balanced. And the current point of control for this volume is way up here. Okay, now what did I say about the point of control being up here and price being down here at a support level? What's this move down most likely due to? Selling strength or a lack of buyers? Yeah, exactly. Lack of buyers. So now I'm seeing this level of support, right? And I'm seeing we are in a discount zone. There's a good chance that we could find some buyers in here. It's possible. Is it guaranteed? No, it's not guaranteed, but it's possible. So if I am looking to trade, and this includes day trades, I'm paying attention to this volume cluster right here. I'm paying attention to this volume cluster right here, and I'm paying attention to this point very, very closely. These are going to be targets intraday for me as well, right? And then same with prior day, et cetera, et cetera. So I take hours to teach all of this stuff. There's so much to learn, but this is the gist of the point of control. Would you say if we close strong below that value area from 2020 that we could potentially test the 20? Yeah, absolutely. If we lose this level here, right here, if we lose this level, this is where we're going, right in here. And actually, I would think that we'd even drop lower, which is, because if we take a look at the profile in general from here, we look at, we've got a ledge down almost to this point of control as well. Yes, wowzers. Wowzers.
Well, will
okay?
be a steep drop.
Now, I'll show you guys something fun. Okay, and some of you guys have taken my mentor group before. And I'm just going to remove these drawings and I'm going to take this off here. But I talked about this. Now, before here, okay, you can see that Wayfair was in a consolidation for the bulk of the time, from the highs of 2020 to here, okay, for the majority of the time, right? You can see that there's a good sell zone up here and a good buy zone down here, right? Well, I did that a few times, bought down here, sold up here, did it a couple times, made some decent coin. And I had some of my students ask me, well, what are you going to do when this level breaks, right? What are you going to do when this level breaks? Or when it, or how long are you going to do this? And I said, until it doesn't work anymore. So eventually it didn't work. And right there is when it stopped working. It broke down that support level. So I had people message me and say, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I'm not looking at Wayfair until it hits, I said 20, because the point of control is actually showing at 20, but when I put this new profile after they changed it, it's actually sitting around the $60 mark for 2021. But people were looking at me like, what are you talking about? How could you possibly, it's at like 220, 230 right now. And you're looking at it not till it hits 20. I said, yeah, that's correct. So question for you. Let's just see what happens to Wayfair. Who's thinking I'm an idiot?
I don't think I've ever thought that.
Look at that, right? Okay, look at that. Right? What's it doing at this level right now? This is what I was eyeing way back here. I was eyeing this point of control down here. Why? Why was I eyeing that point of control down there? And the reason being is because there is absolutely nothing holding it up right here. There's no volume. There's no real volume. Nothing. Okay. And that's very different from, say, if we look at Apple. Oops. Okay. So if we look at Apple and we take a look at, this is the 2021, here's the 2020. Okay. Again, here you have no volume inside of here. Okay, so this is the level that we need to hold, but we have lots of support in this area, right? So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking for. And if we take a look at the cues, right? When you get down in here, again, you have a little bit of a cluster right here that could hold this up, but for the most part, nothing down here. And that's what happens when you have this big, huge trend. There's not a lot of support that can hold this up for you. Let's take a look at something else. Let's look at Pinterest. Okay, same thing. So Pinterest, once it broke this support, did it have any volume over here to hold it up? And the answer was no. It had this little cluster right in here, but that was it. And even then, that was weak. There was nothing holding that up below there. So it did bounce a little bit right here. That's it. And then it continued to go lower to find that volume. Let's take a look at Disney. Okay, so if we take a look at Disney, right? What are we seeing with Disney? Again, no volume. There's nothing in this move. In fact, there's big, huge gaps that end up getting taken out. So we're back down into this consolidation, which is where the massive volume was, right in that area. Okay. Does anyone want to take a look at anything else?
Do you pull up Tesla yet or no?
No. Let's
I
take
know
a look
there's
at Tesla.
lots of interest in Tesla.
So take a look at Tesla, right? Where'd Tesla rebound to? So someone asked in Slack the other day, whether or not Tesla was bullish and how could you justify the bullishness? And I responded by saying that I can make a bullish argument because of the location that it currently is on the profiles, right? It's at that 2021 point of control, and it's been doing what? Chopping around, right? So these are the kinds of things that I'm looking at. If we break this level, guess what? Tesla people, I got to make this bigger. Hang on. Let's see. This is a yearly. Where's my yearly? Right here. Let's go to 50. There you go. Bad news for Tesla, right? So if this level breaks, where are we going for Tesla? And I'm picking up a whole boatload down here if it does get here. This level needs to hold. Otherwise, we get nothing. We get nothing holding this up in here. There's absolutely nothing. Right? Now, once again, and I'm going to keep saying this, that does not guarantee anything because there's no guarantees in the market at all. At any point, buyers can step in. But what this does tell me is there were none there before. So I am not likely to believe or think that there are some there now. There's no reason for it.
Tracy, I'll be right back. All right.
Yeah, you bet. But at any point, something can change. There can be a fundamental change of the company. There can be something globally that can change it. All sorts of things that can change the dynamics and force buyers to kind of get in or get out. And that changes and adds new support levels that weren't there before or new resistance levels that weren't there before. Okay. All right. So What's below for Tesla? There you go. So I answered that already. I said, so are you doing shorts on the way down or buying puts? You know, sometimes I'm doing shorts. I don't trade options very often, so usually not. But for the most part, I'm sitting in cash for a lot of it. I'm day trading a lot, and then I'm waiting for opportunities to take advantage of levels that are good. That's mostly the way that I'm looking at things. So I want to be able to load the boat in when I get to right areas and when I can catch this bottom, and I'm using my timing through the profile to be able to do that. All right. Are you okay? So somebody wanted to look at BMY or Amazon. Let's look at Amazon first. So you take a look at Amazon, and what do we got? Now, this is going to be a little difficult because Amazon just split. And obviously, when Amazon was down, way down at this price, versus way up here at a couple $1,000s, it wasn't as profitable. So the volume isn't there. So I suspect that these volume areas are actually going to be even heavier than what they were the first time because the price is so much lower than what it was. So there's going to be a little bit of differences, like a lot of thin volume that's sitting in here is a lot to do with the price of volume or price of Amazon at that time, not necessarily because of lack of support. Does that make sense to everybody? Just type a 1 in the chat if that makes sense to you guys. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so right now, the way that I'm looking at this, we have a really big, huge POC that shifted up for the year of 2021, and we are doing a massive shift down. This is an area that needs to hold. We've got 3 levels of point of controls right here that need to hold. So we'll see what happens in this area, but this is key. Wouldn't want it to break and start trading below this level because our next level of support's down at the $49 mark. Who would want to pick up Amazon at $50? I know I would. I'll hold that for the next 30 years and not even worry about it. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at Zoom. Whoops. Sorry, I got a new optical keyboard and my typing is just too quick. Okay, so if we look at Zoom, Zoom is looking pretty nasty. What's happening to the POCs? Again, we're shifted down in the point of control, but where are we? We're sitting right at the 2020 POC, but we're below it. Our current point of control is developing below that point of control. So we need to hold this level. Otherwise, you're going below, you're going to all-time lows on Zoom. So we'll see what happens, right? Not a lot of strength. Okay. Let's see here. What else? I think BMY was one. I'm just going back in this chat. There we go. BMY. I mean, you guys can start doing them. BMY, look at that, bullish. Why do I know that? Because the yearly POCs are continuing to shift up. Okay, so let's take a look at the monthly and see what's happening on the monthly levels. So we had 2 shifts down in the point of control. So question on the monthly level, what did I say about 2 shifts down in the point of control when I'm in long? If I'm in long and I'm using the monthly POCs, yeah, I'd be moving my stop up. So I'd be moving my stop up below this monthly level right now. Okay, that's if I was using the monthly. So if I was in a longer term hold and I'm using my monthlies, that's what I'd be looking at. I don't want this level to break because momentum has definitely started to slow down. It's showing that we've got 2 shifts down in the point of control. So what I want to see now, or what I'd like to see now, and look at this nice little daily candle bounce off of last month's prior point of control, throw in a nice little hammer there. I don't know, looking bullish, but we'll see what happens, right? We got the rejection. I don't like the second candle because I prefer candles that close above the hammers, but we've got resistance sitting right here, which is our current point of control. So we need to get back above that. And we've got the 2 shifts down in the monthly point of control. We have the weekly POCs is 1, 2 with a minor shift. So I would want to see this weekly shift up or shift down and then shift up. I'd be watching the weeklies to see if this monthly trend is going to continue.
So in this range, Tracy, this is for you, this is the do nothing zone. Would you, if you wanted to go bullish to keep with the yearly trend, would you would you have to have a candle
so-
above the yellow line and close?
So well, that would be my preference. So the first thing that I would be waiting for right now is either a shift up in the monthly. So I'd want another shift up in the monthly POC, or I'm going to watch these weeklies and see if I can't get back above this current point of control and see if the weeklies can maintain that POC continuing to go higher. That's going to be my timing to catch this, right? And if I don't, if I get a shift down in the weekly, I just wait and I'll wait to see what the monthly does. And if the monthly shifts up, okay, this could end up consolidating. It can consolidate for a few months and just bounce back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then get ready to break out.
And what would for you be your indicator to go short?
Well, first of all, if we got another point of control that shifted down on a monthly level. So if we start trading below this point of control and we stay below this point of control, that would be my indication to start taking this, looking at short trades. The risks are in your favor to go short on that when you start trading below that point of control. You're already below the yearly and you've got 2 shifts down on the monthly. Now, if we start trading below this level and we take out this low, yeah, right. There's a really high chance that we're going to go retest this lower point of control. And that one's been tested once, so it's not going to be as strong. And let's see if there's anything lower. There might be something lower from over here, but you have lots of support in this area here that could hold that up. So that's the way I'd be looking at it. Right.
Is there a setting to, because especially since the market just keeps crumbling, and we're breaking 2021 lows, 2020 lows, is there a way setting wise to go back further with those without going to the replay, or no?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
you know
Yeah,
how
you
like
can-
the VPOC
yeah.
just stopped, like obviously it only goes back so far.
But that's, again, that has to do with your row setting. So for instance, right here, I can't get this many. Let's go into the yearly. And let's change this row size to say 150. And that's not working. 300. I might be limited by the data package. This might be as far back as I can go for the data. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Once I start approaching those levels that there's no VPOCs, I gotta pretty much hit the replay button to get back into that zone.
for the most part, you should be able to
Annoying.
look back far enough without doing the replay by increasing the row size. That should get you far enough back. But if you got to look back further than that, then I would just do the replay, mark it manually, and then take it out of replay and see where it is.
Gotcha.
So the most I can go back 7 years. Yeah, that's probably me as well, Tony. It's pretty damn amazing stuff. Yes, it is. It's pretty awesome. Love this stuff. Using replay. Yep. So you guys have an opportunity, and take a look at this. This is a SPY. Okay. It's almost by the penny. Okay. Where'd this retest to? Wow. I know. Look at that, right? Like it's just incredible when you start watching this stuff and you start looking at it and what's happening and how it interacts with those points of controls. And you can look at the SPY. Here's the monthly. Let's just take a look at the monthly. Where did this retest to? Where did this candle right here retest to? That monthly POC, right? Where did this candle and this candle retest? Yeah, the previous monthly POC. Okay. Where did this candle get rejected? Where did this candle get rejected? Right? Previous point of control. Okay. Where did this candle find support? Like it's just wowzers. I'm just flabbergasted by all of it all the time.
John V has a question. Where did the yellow lines come from? I'm guessing it's not the trend line that's going up. I'm guessing it's the horizontal.
You're talking this one here, not this one here.
I believe it's talking horizontal. Yeah.
Okay, so this one here, if you go into the yearly, I just changed the point of control to yellow instead of. So I changed the point of control to yellow. I changed my point of controls for the monthly to green, and I changed my weekly point of controls to purple, and my daily are red. That's just how I do it. Okay. So you primarily use the monthly POCs for expected targets, resistance. I'm going to use the points of controls, but I'm also going to be using volume clusters. So where are their volume clusters? Volume clusters are these high volume areas, and they usually coincide with point of controls. Yes. So absolutely. Why not, right?
Tracy. Mike's gonna upset you with this one. He's asking, you don't use any EMAs or anything, strictly use this method. I'm gonna go on mute.
I do use the 10 EMA just to help manage my trade, because I have 2 rules for trade management. And that is a close below the 10 EMA. I'm allowed to move my stop up below an untested pivot. But also if I get a shift down twice in the point of control, then I can move my stop. So one or the other, they usually coincide together, but I always have the 10 EMA on my chart for management. That's it. It's always for management. Yeah. And Joe, it depends on my time frame. So the monthly, the weekly, it's going to depend on my time frame. So the beginning of the for day trading, the beginning of the week, I'm going to look at last week's profile, and I'm going to take a peek at last week's profile. So if we just open up, let's turn off all of this stuff for a second. Actually, I'm going to go to my daily. Sorry, this one here. And I'm going to turn some of this stuff off. Okay. So if I'm looking at, actually, let's just go into here and turn. All right. So the dashed lines are my untested point of controls on a daily level. So I'm looking at that. Now, if we go into, say, an intraday chart, let's say the 3-minute chart, and we are at the beginning of, so here we are, we're at, what was the beginning of the month? Let me get a calendar here. Today is the Wednesday. So yesterday would have been the first day. Yeah, right here. Okay. So if we go like, so this is the day that when I open up on Tuesday, this is what would have been showing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the 1st, the 30th, 29, 28, 27. That's it. So 27, and I'm just going to extend this like that. And then what I'll do is I'm going to put on a visible range profile right there. Okay. So now I can look at last week's volume profile right on my intraday chart. This is my last week, and the visible range is only going to show you the volume that's on your page. That's why I started with the first minute of the open on the first day of last week, right to the close of last week. That's what's on my chart. Now, can I see clearly that I have a nice level, nice range, that if we break this level of resistance, I have a nice target sitting right here on a weekly level that I can play to, right? I can start trading inside of that. But I also know that in order for that to happen, I have to break through this level of resistance, right? And if I don't, I also have, this POC that's right here. I have the current POC of the week sitting right there, and I have a lot of volume inside of here. So a lot of volume that's inside of there isn't really going to help me. It can do just about anything that it wants, but this level right here is a good buy area. Right now, this is the sell area. And if we break through there, I got clear pathway up to this level right here.
Did you take any day trades today, or
I did.
or do you have any trades that you could go back to that you took, just to get your perspective of how you would take a trade as far as your entry setups using this for day trade purpose?
Yeah. So, well, with this profile showing, let's just see, because I based my trade off of today, and I didn't stay in it for very long. I won very, very small just because it didn't do anything. I can tell you right now, I bought off this point of control from the prior day as it was recovering, was holding this point of control. So if we look at that level right here, we open up after a really strong day and we open above the point of control. And let me ask you this, guys, point of control ended high at the end of the day. Does that say the buyers were in control or the sellers? Was this buying strength or lack of sellers? buying strength. It was buying strength. So with gap up with buying strength, I'm expecting buyers to stay put. So I ended up buying right off this level, and I got out right in around here. I think it was after this one right here. So this hammer right here wicked me out because I moved my stop right to there, and it just wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So I got out of the trade, thought about getting back into it later on when we retested over here. And I didn't want to. So I just stayed out of it. The volatility was increasing. Anything could happen. I know the Fed was speaking, and I didn't want to be in it. So that was the trade that I was taking, and that was the reasons. But if you look at, see, I post stuff in the volume profile last week or a couple weeks ago that showed where the ranges were, and I'd have to look at those, but I can't think of a trade off by heart that I would have taken.
No, the AMD chart today was I traded AMD off of the VPOC today as far as entry goes. It looks eerily similar to the Qs.
Yeah, you took it off
Or-
the developing POC though, right?
I took it off of so I took it pretty much. I took that one early in the day, and then I actually added a spot to add on based off of previous VPOC.
See,
So I
and
did
for
like an
me-
add reduce, and I was
Yeah.
playing with options. So
Gotcha. Okay. See, and for me, I would have been looking at this as a failed point of control right here with another retest to sell it. I would have been selling right here in this level because it's retest. It failed the point of control and then retested that level.
that's where I ended up getting it. Yeah. So
Yep.
I got the first initial batch of options early. I was too early on that one because it did break through. I was looking for a little bounce off that initial yesterday's VPOC.
Mhm.
And then as it was kind of coming down, I was like, all right, I'm wrong here. But then I did another add-on right at the bottom candle,
Mhm.
just because that was hitting, I think 2 days ago, had a VPOC from there. I was
Right.
like, it's got to hold this. This is my last hope. So I'm going to risk to reward wise, I'll add reduce. If it ends up breaking that level, I'll just be out of the trade.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really risking too much on that second add, but that brings my price down a lot from the initial options. And then right as we got back into that little, where you just pointed out, that little retest of a
Right here,
little
right
higher.
here.
Yep, right in
Yep.
there. I just bailed on all of them. So
Gotcha.
I was able to actually turn a trade that wasn't working into a small little win.
Gotcha.
But that's how I played it. But yeah, after you pull up the Qs, I was like, yeah, it looks almost similar to what AMD did today too.
Yep. So it's just one of those things that, I mean, there's a buyer and a seller in every market, as I said before. So there's going to be a perspective that says, hey, I need to exit or I need to sell. And there's going to be a perspective that says I need to buy. And all of those people have a different reason. So I can look at this in multiple different ways, but this volume profile is definitely going to point out where the volume is, where the support and where the resistance levels are. And I think it's really key. As far as like this point of control right here from the prior day, to me, it's already been broken. So it's not as strong. It's not something that I'm going to be watching or looking at. But if I get a consolidation, then I'm going to start looking at what the volume looks like when you combine it. And as you can see, this volume, this is actually the level that matters. And in here, this orange line right here, that's the point of control for all 3 of the days. That's the one that's important, right? And then you've got the current session POC. And you can see there's a little bit of a cluster in between there. And what did price do? It kind of rotated in between those. And then once it broke through, it held support at this level and continued. But you can see the volume cluster of the combined level, right? Now, is there anything holding this up, or is there room for AMD to continue to go higher?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So
That's what I was looking for. So that initial, I was trying to buy it off yesterday's VPOC because I was looking like Tesla was a little squished with a couple VPOCs. But I was like, all right, AMD has $2 or $3 from if I can get it right off that VPOC, and then it just went right through it. And I was like, oh man, I'm trapped. So it came to me. I was like, I got to look for the next little VPOC area for some kind of support. See if I could do add reduce. If it doesn't work, again, me buying it down at that level. If it started breaking that, I was bailing on the position for a loss. But that add-on would have been a slight loss.
Yep.
Compared to what the potential value was for the add-on.
And it totally made sense, right?
Mhm.
And what you did was great. Now, look where this guy retested to. Right? retested to this, which is that visual, this 3-day cluster, that point of control, right? That's where it retested to. So you could have done it again. And now it tried. So it tried to break out of this resistance, failed, retested this lower support, tried again, passed, retested this area, and then continued to go higher.
Yeah,
And now
I was the same way on that. Not that first retest. I was already out. I was just taking a minute to evaluate the market, just kind of see what happens, because it was just a bunch of chop. And then after that initial break, I was looking and I was the same thing. I was like, well, you got the minutes just came out, everything's going crazy. So I missed that one, but I did consider that second bounce, and I should have took it, but it was a little later in the day.
Right? And that's the thing, like you're gonna know right away whether you're wrong or whether you're right. And that's why I can keep my losses really low. I can keep them really small. So for that reason, because I know whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, and whether it's going to work or whether it's not, because I want it to bounce off those levels very, very quickly and very cleanly. I don't want it to hang out at those levels and dance around and tease me. I don't want it to do that. So I want it to get right to the point. Either the buyers are there or they aren't. Either the sellers are there or they aren't. Right. So cool. Anyway, we can get the settings on. No, I don't think there's a way that I can transport them. I've done videos on it. You can read the videos. This has been recorded, so you'll have to go through the recording on here. And otherwise,
I recorded this one to the cloud, Trace, so you might have the option to get the recording.
okay.
I don't know if you just want to throw the link in Slack, potentially.
For the video that we did today.
For this recording, yeah.
Yep, absolutely, we can. So I just don't have access to the cloud, so I don't know who can pull it off.
Oh, you don't? I thought you did. Okay.
Yeah, no.
We'll find it for you guys.
You bet. So, any other questions, you guys? Will this recording show the archives? I don't know. Show in the archives. I couldn't tell you, Mike. I don't know.
Matt says super helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you
Exactly
start looking at this stuff, like I said, it starts to make more and more sense. Just like anything, it's almost, especially if you're combining it with other stuff, it starts to get confusing. But just most of the time, a lot of issues I think with traders is just the fact that it's overwhelming because they're adding too many things. Just keep things simple and stupid, and you'll find how easier trading just becomes, just more clear.
Absolutely. How simple is it to look at one indicator that tells you where all the support resistance levels are? I find it simple. It makes sense to me. So, and then, like I said, when you start asking yourself, what is human nature? If you look at the real estate market, right? And if you imagine you put a house on the market and you're selling it and you get a bidding war, right? What is that saying about the market? It's saying that people are really super excited to buy their house, right? So you can have a lot of buyers that are wanting to buy, and they start bidding over these houses. So the price will continue to go up because the next person that puts their house on the market, they're going to say, oh, wow, well, that person got they got 20,000 over their asking price. I'm going to just start there and see what happens. And then we end up with more people bidding and fighting over and raising the price of that house. So the next person that puts their house on the market says, oh, well, that person got another 40,000 over their market. And they continue to just keep increasing the price, and the price keeps going. And as long as the buyers keep being frenzied about buying it, price is going to continue to go higher for that bullish real estate market. Now, that being said, you can also say, well, there's only 6 houses on the market, so I'm going to ask what I want for my house, and I'm going to ask a really high price, and maybe the right buyer might come along. And if it does, maybe you might have a high priced market that appears to look bullish, but it's because there's a lack of buyers. So the sellers can be very picky about what price they want. And it sits there, and the buyer buys it because they have to go up to a price where somebody wants to sell. at. Does that make sense? And it's a very different sentiment behind the pricing in the market, and the stock market is no different. If you can start rationalizing, asking yourself and thinking about how does volume really speak to you about what's happening with the buyers and the sellers? What does it mean? And that's all the tools are in the volume profile. Every last one of them is there for you to take a look at and use to your benefit. And it's not lagging. That's why I love it. It is leading the market. Right.
Yeah. And that's why when we were asked about because I know for a fact Tracy doesn't use unless like the 10 for help guiding the trade or whatever, but all the EMAs, all that stuff, they're all, so if you have 100 EMA on your screen, whatever time frame it is, that's giving you the average price of the last 100 candles of where that would be. So like a lot of people trade off of those levels, and they'll trade off of using that for targets, using that to get into things. So it makes sense to have like the big ones, the key ones on the screen. But like Tracy said, the all of that information is just lagging. Like that's all based on history and not really the only really thing that matters is where people actually put their money into the market. And that's where you start getting those volumes, because when you have especially institutions coming in heavy levels and you want to, they're deeming that certain price point as valid to go higher or lower. Guess who doesn't want to lose money? Probably those institutions. And they start coming in and being able to push the markets around a little.
Let's take a quick look at something, because I'll throw on some long-term moving averages for a second, and let's just see if any of these line up. So the moving average, let's change this to 100. Want to do the 100 or the 200? What do you want to do? 100. We'll do 100, and we'll change that to blue, and we'll make it nice and thick. At a 100, okay, and then let's look at a 200. Let's add a 200. Let's make this one, let's go purple. Okay, so when you start to see the interactions that are happening around the 100 and the 200, they're interacting with points on the profile, right? So you look at these, there's a pullback right into the 200, and it's right at a point of control. This is something that you want to see, right? Here's a pullback into the 200 into the value area high. You've got these ranges. So I just would rather go off the profile versus looking at these, because they're going to be together. And like I said, by the time this 100 crosses back above the 200, my points of control could already be telling me where I can start to get in, right? So here you get the cross. Let's look at this one right here. Here you get a cross right there where the 100 crosses above the 200. Prior to that, it was still bearish. The 100 was below the 200, but the price point at which it did it was way up here, right? Well, the point of controls, here's the shift down, shift up, shift down, shift up. This is telling me right here that momentum has slowed down and is ready to potentially go higher. We got a little bit of a double bottom in the actual POCs. So why do I want to wait until this price action up here before these moving averages are showing bullish again, before I start looking to go bullish? I can catch that way down here. In fact, there's the move bull. Here's a retest of the 200, and then go higher. So it's just a timing thing for me. It's what I like to see, and I don't like to have a lot of things on my chart to
Simplicity.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just get these off of here.
I think we got the man sitting in the dark, the phantom of the markets, Jeremy Newsom, coming in.
Mr. Newsom.
It is dark. There's no point even having a video. Oh, Tracy, awesome work. Thanks, Dan, for being here as well.
Yeah.
Yes. It's awesome.
I was able to listen in for a few minutes on the phone, but you guys are the best.